This is Podcast Theory.
Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Podcast Theory Live. I am your host, Jason Sircone, and damn, does it feel good to be back on the microphone with you, coming at you live once again here on YouTube, or if you're catching the replay, it's good to be back with you. I missed last week, and it sucks because I just started this whole daily live stream thing 2 weeks ago, and then to not be able to follow up with it after only 1 week made me feel like I was slacking. But here's the explanation. If you missed Let's Blow This Up Live this past Wednesday, I explained that out of nowhere, and I've never experienced this in the summertime, but I got the flu on Father's Day. It started to hit me the night of Father's Day, and then it just blew me away for the next couple days, and I lived with it through most of the week, and I'm still feeling a little bit of it. Really weird. Again, we're in like the midst of the world's worst heat wave, and here I am down with the flu, something that you typically experience in the wintertime. But anyway, I'm back. I don't even want to say that I'm better than ever because I don't feel like I'm there yet, and I don't want to set up these false expectations. But nevertheless, it's good to be back, and we're going to get these daily live streams rolling once again. So what I want to do this week, because it's a pretty big week, I'm going to set the table for what's going on this week. I want to have a little bit of fun. But also in doing that, I want to share some lessons that I've learned over the course of my almost 10 years in the podcasting space. So you may know, you may not know, this coming weekend, as we sit and record today, and I sit and come at you live, it is Monday, June 24th. This weekend is the inaugural Empowered Podcasting Conference taking place June 28th through 30th in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've had a lot of the creators of this of this conference. It's funny. I keep calling it a concert. I was doing that on one of my live streams. I'm doing it here again. It's not a concert. It's a conference. I had several of the creators of this conference on Let's Blow This Up Live, pretty much all by coincidence. I knew I was going to bring them on, but all of them coming in a row was just pure coincidence. But nevertheless, if you want to learn about this conference, jump over to the Let's Blow This Up Live archives, and you can check out my conversations with Mark Ronick, with Matt and Megan Shields, with Lloyd George, and with Simona Costantini. It's going to be a great event, and I'm looking forward to being there as one of the MCs, as well as leading a panel discussion about how podcasting has become a better version of social media. If you've been watching these live streams and paying any attention to me over the past few months, you know how much that subject means to me. So getting an opportunity to talk about it with the crowd at Empowered Podcasting means a lot. So I am looking forward to landing in Charlotte this Thursday afternoon. We're going to have a great time. If you haven't gotten tickets yet, or you still are unaware of what this event is all about, jump over to empoweredpodcasting.com and you can learn more about the event and snag a ticket. We're going to have a great time, and I'd love to see you in Charlotte. So as I said, gearing up for this week, since I'm going to be on stage, I'm going to be having fun with all the people that are live and in living color at the event. I wanted to bring a little bit of that flair here to Podcast Theory Live. So I figured I'd go down memory lane this week and think about some of the experiences that I've had that have been a little off the wall and crazy in the podcast space. I think we've all at one point in time, as podcasters, as live streamers, as creators in general, have experienced some wild and wacky stuff. So today, I'm going to kick this five-part series off with a story that when you think back on this, or when I think back on this, it's still crazy and blows my mind that this was ever a thing. But what it does is helped me understand, and what it should for you as well, watching out there in the bomb squad, is to understand that it's incredibly important to set expectations for anybody that you're collaborating with. If it's your podcast, you have to let people know exactly what you expect of them, and don't take anything for granted. So that was my lesson. I'm jumping ahead here. Don't want to put the cart before the horse. Let me share this story of what happened several years ago. This is when I was initially getting into the podcasting game. I believe it was my very first podcast that I was recording for, not the first episode, obviously, but the first podcast that I ever did. I had set up an interview with someone that was not in person. And at that time, this whole virtual dynamic was not as prevalent as it is today in podcasting. At that point in time, I was using Skype and Ecamm, and I was just getting the hang of how it could work. And I love the fact that it expanded my base of who I could reach out to and have on my show. Obviously, this is the norm today in 2024. But back in 2016, 15, 16, I think it was 15 actually, right in the initial stages of my podcasting career, I had reached out to this person. They said they'd love to join me. And I said, great, I'm going to send you a link and we're going to do it on this date and we're good to go. That's pretty much all I said. Now, we did talk a little bit about the subject matter that we were going to discuss, but I didn't lay out any expectations for him other than that. So we get to recording day and I jump online. I log on to the program. Like I said, I believe it was Skype, like the Ecamm Skype was a combination of both. God, so long ago, and done so many episodes in normal, and I don't say normal, but in the way that we're so used to and accustomed to these days that I forget what the program was. But nevertheless, I had opened up, was ready to go, and I saw he had jumped on, and all of a sudden when he came on, he was in his car. He was driving in rush hour traffic. So you could hear cars beeping. You could see that he was distracted, obviously, for good reason. He's driving a freaking car. And I was just sitting there like, oh my God, no, what are you doing? He says, oh, well, I just didn't want to miss out on our interview, but I'm driving, so we'll be good, right? No, we won't be good. So I explained that, listen, we're trying to create a solid listener experience here. You're in traffic, connection's unreliable, you're on your phone, you're not going to be able to pay attention the way that I need you to. There's no way we can have this engaging conversation that we need to have or that we had planned to have if you're driving in your car. And I don't want you to be distracted. I want you to be paying attention to the road so something terrible doesn't happen. So no, we're not moving forward with this. And we canceled the interview. And I believe we did end up doing it later on. Yeah, we did end up doing it later on and connected in the right environment. But that's just one of those stories again. But I thought about that, and common sense might tell you, why would I not be in front of my computer or in a reliable internet connection setting when I'm going to do a podcast interview? And again, we take a lot of these things for granted sometimes. And again, thinking back to that time period, it was early on. Now, podcasting had evolved to a degree, but nothing like we're experiencing today. So I did a terrible, terrible job not setting the expectations of, please be in a quiet environment with a microphone and a reliable internet connection so you shine, so you look like a rock star, so we can feature your expertise and let it impact the audience that tunes into this podcast. When I say this to people now, they're like, duh, of course. And again, my whole point in all of this is that you don't want to take that type of thing for granted. If you don't take a minute to let people know exactly what you expect of them, then it's on you if they do something completely different. You have to be the one to set the table that you want to have an engaging conversation. And this is what your audience tunes in for. This is what you're hoping to create. And we're looking to tap into X, Y, and Z today. If you just leave it open-ended, a lot of times guests are going to come on and they're going to do what they feel is right for them. But if you set the table the right way, you can control things. And that was what I learned from that situation, was I needed to do a much better job of setting the table, letting people know exactly what I expect of them when they join me on my show. And ever since I started implementing those systems to where I'm always communicating those needs, things have always been much smoother. So when you're setting the table for your guests and you're bringing new people onto your show to collaborate with, make sure they have a clear expectation of what you expect. And even if it seems incredibly obvious, don't be skydiving at the time. Don't be flying an airplane. Don't be driving a car. Don't be rollerblading. Don't be doing anything that doesn't involve you sitting down in front of your computer with a reliable internet connection and a good microphone so we can have a powerful, engaging conversation. You can't take for granted that someone might think differently. Make sure that you're setting proper expectations and letting them know exactly what you need, because at the end of the day, this is your production. You want to be proud of what you're putting out there, and you want the people that join you to collaborate with you to feel good about what they're doing as well and the information they're bringing to the microphone too. So set those clear expectations, let them know exactly what they need to know, and your production is going to be much better at the end of the day. No more people driving cars while they're interviewing with me on shows. So if you do want to join me, consider this the first of a few times that I will tell you. Be in the right setting so we can put together some damn good content together. With that, that is going to wrap up this installment of Podcast Theory Live. This is part 1 of 5 as I share some crazy stories from my podcast career over the last 10 years as we're gearing up to be in Charlotte, North Carolina this weekend for Empowered Podcasting Conference, for the Empowered Podcasting Conference. Like I said at the top of the show, if you'd like to know more about that show or about that here we go, show, concert, conference. I'm going to get there eventually. If you want to know more about this conference, jump over to empoweredpodcasting.com and you're going to learn everything that you need to know. So with that, I'm going to sign off on today's installment of Podcast Theory Live. Thank you very much for being here. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another crazy story. Until then, good talk. I'll see you out there.